Thank you. I'm glad you're all here. And I don't want to repeat too much of what I put in the proceedings, but there's a story about how this all happened, or maybe I should because you haven't read it, right? Right. Okay. Once upon a time, about 6 years ago, my friend Debbie Reed and I were grousing. She was the city arborist and for the city of San Antonio, and there had been an ongoing struggle in the city between environmental activists and the development community, because as you've seen, I'm sure in your area, the developers were scraping the land before building and destroying the environment, totally wiping out all life forms on, and then putting up a house and thinking that that was a life form. So she tried to work with the developers to educate them, but they kept fighting, the development community, not all of them, but kept fighting whatever tree ordinances we tried to impose on them. And our activists were, this was going back and forth, so every year they'd come up with a revision to the code that would weaken it or strengthen it. And so at this point, we felt that we needed to change the culture about our land and how we look at our land. And I'm from Hawaii, and I came to San Antonio in 1999. I was taught as a child to identify many trees and many animals. And when I got here, I started asking people what the names of things were, and I found people did not know. I was pissed off about that. And so that stayed with me. And then I got involved. I immediately bought a bunch of picture books of plants and to try to learn about where I was. And so I know that there's a huge amount of ignorance in the community about the very place in which they live. They may know more about African savanna animals than they do about our own pumas or or even our own critters, much less our plants. And but even then, I actually would ask people going past my house, do you know what that black bird is? No, they didn't know what a grackle was, okay? So that was pretty pathetic. We have songs on the radio in Hawaii about the myna bird. Every kid knows what a myna bird is, Anyway, so I was really aware of how ignorant the larger community was. I had been the president of my chapter and had been thinking a lot about chapter effectiveness and getting people involved in volunteering in the chapter. So one of the things I was noticing was that people would come that I could spot right away as being very ambitious and wanting to contribute, and then they would disappear, and only to show up as a master naturalist or some other way that they were serving the community and no longer going to be involved with a native plant society, at least not our chapter. I also had members who would come to the meetings but they wouldn't offer to volunteer at public education events, where we had a table. And I'd had occasion to speak to a couple of people about that randomly, and they said they didn't think they knew enough to do that. And we're going like, you don't need it. But anyway, that was their perception. And I realized that our monthly meetings were informational, but where they didn't provide a systematic way for our members to become quickly, our new members to become quickly acclimated and learn some basics about native plants. We're also all moving into the cities, so we're having to deal with issues of urban sprawl, but red tip Virginia, excuse me, and so people didn't know the difference between a a sterile environment in their yard and a lively habitat or inviter of wildlife into their yards. So so that was one of the many reasons why I thought it would be a good thing. Debbie herself had been the spearhead. She had spearheaded the creation of the Master Naturalist Program, which you may not know was founded in San Antonio and has now gone national. So she and I both thought using that kind of model of the Master Gardeners and Master Naturalists for us would be a good idea. If you certify somebody, then they're told, and the rest of the community are told what they know. You know, even if somebody doesn't know exactly what they know, oh, they're level 1 certified native landscape certification program, and somebody can say, oh, I'm level 1. I can go to tables and tell people about native plants now. You know, that was one of our motivations. Just giving level 1 has turned into a really good introductory level class for anyone, you know, and that's, we've introduced level 2 this spring, and that's more complex and it takes longer, and we found that less than half of the people who took level 1 in the spring took level 2, and we're expecting that. But by that time, and once we develop, it's going to be 4 levels. Once we develop the other levels, we'll probably see that kind of a pattern, that by the time you're at level 2, you'll probably get a 75% shift over to, you know, taking level 3, and these are going to become the more committed members who are going to serve. And then we can provide an ongoing certification status that will be similar to the native, to the Master Naturalist Program. Yes?
And what title would they?
I haven't decided.
I mean,
I'm waiting for more heads.
You got a Master Naturalist, you got a Master.
Well, no, it's not going to be a master.
You're gonna have a,
No, I don't think so. I don't think we'll be a master.
I think it should be native master.
Well, I think that's something that we can work out over time. There's no hurry.
I'm not sure I understand the concept. What I'm saying about native plants to people now is not effective because I don't have whatever the certification is.
I don't think I said that. Who said that?
Not valid.
Anybody here?
That's where I'm not clear on what this means.
Probably because there's about 70% or greater of the people in our chapter membership who don't know about native plants as much as you like. And we're trying to find a quick way to bring them up to speed, plus the landscapers and architects and everything
But
else.
for me to be able to do this, I would have to go ahead and get the certification for.
No.
For some people, they need
You
it
could use
for
mine,
fun,
just
but
punch that button.
Oh, see, that's the one I bought. That I'm proof. Thanks.
But with the other 2 organizations, if you don't get the certification, you don't belong there, you know? That's the way they approach that. So I wasn't sure.
We are structured a little bit differently in that sense, but, you know. You can be a member of the Native Plant Society.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's not a club of only certified people. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll work on that. No. Well, we're finally getting somewhere here. Oh, by the way, I brought 3 ring binders, three ring binders, and they're 2 of them is you know, when we started thinking about this, we thought, oh, let's write a curriculum, and that, like, you know, that put the kibosh on our brains. And so we realized this is not a curriculum. We're never going to become curriculum developers. What we decided was that what we could do and as a society could do is to develop a PowerPoint presentation and put the content of what we wanted to say in the notes section. And so what these binders show you are the slides with the notes. So you can kind of get a again, this is in progress. So if it doesn't look perfect and beautiful and eloquent, that's the way it is, you know. It still works. We're still able to give the class, And in time, with more people providing service to the program, we'll be able to make it look a little bit more coherent to somebody just looking at it.
But it should work.
This one works, and what? This one will, okay. Great. And does this work too? Oh, okay. Okay, so
It's got a laser on it.
Cecil, give this
Go
back
till
to
3:30.
give this back to here. Thank you. I've got till 3:30.
So how many started your level one? How many did you?
Oh, so far in 3 years, we skipped a year because we were overwhelmed by the development of level 2. So over the 3 years that we've offered level 1, we've had about 280 people take the course. And we haven't really done any concerted advertising. We've done emailing to members, and anybody on our email list that signed up on our site, and to related organizations. Let me start at the beginning. These are the people who have been involved at level 1. The City of San Antonio, that was Debbie Reed, my friend, the City of Arborist. The Texas Master Naturalist Program, and I had something here, but anyway, we'll get there. We have had the coordinator for the Alamo area Texas Master Naturalists on our committee to make sure that we're augmenting what they do and not competing or replacing or in some way becoming redundant. Judith Green is our urban biologist in the region, and she contributed materials that she had been using a lot to give public talks about, and Debbie worked on adding to that and making it into the program we had in mind, and that's us, obviously. The audience we had in mind this is not exclusive. There's anybody who wants to come, but obviously our members, other environmental and volunteers, landscape architects and designers, contractors. Some of these are going to be more likely to come than others. So when we're talking about these professionals, that some people may say, oh yeah, right, yeah, you're going to get them come. Some, like I say, some may be harder to attract, but when it comes to the professionals, what we plan to do, is to create a website for the program, and on that website, anybody who wants to hire somebody in a profession that knows about native plants can go to our website and see if they can find somebody that they want to hire. That person can provide a link to their website or to their email so that our website becomes a vehicle by which that they can say, yes, I know that. And we can put a disclaimer saying, well, whatever we're worried about. But this will attract certain professionals. We already have had landscape architects, landscape designers. We have a realtor that has come to the last class and is going to go tell everybody, and is going to help us publish a brochure that that the city prepared for us that we've run out of. And we have one maintenance company that took it in the spring as well. And and they just came, we didn't target that audience yet. So we have a lot of potential for targeting audiences and bringing in these people. So we have determined, asked ourselves, okay, what do we want our students to learn? And we decided that we'd organize it this way. What do we want them to know, feel, or do? We want them to know about the best practices for protecting plants during construction. This is level 2, so this is the bulk of what we cover in level 2. Level 1 is really an introductory, and you'll see more about that later. BMTs like impervious cultures, sidewalks, structural soils, how to assess how to choose plants to preserve, selection of plants, protecting plants during development and all that stuff. So what do we want them to feel? Empowered to speak and act on behalf of the needs of the local habitats and plants, and confident in their knowledge, and convinced of the need to increase public knowledge, and confident enough to become active advocates for native plants and habitats in the region. And what do we want them to do? To continue to learn, because this is an introductory. I actually had a friend who was going to help, and then she got really busy, but when she looked at the PowerPoint, she says, oh, that has to be broken out. That's too much. You've got to break that out into one. That'll be one program, one day, and this will be one day. And I said, hello, that's not the purpose. What we want to do is let people know what the issues are, what the general lay of the land is. It's sort of like looking at the top of the hill, before you go into the into the valley, and you're going to say, okay, over there are the amots, and over there are the shortgrass prairie, and over there is that's what we're doing. We're not making experts out of anybody, but we are telling them, oh, have you heard of low impact development? Have you heard of Sustainable Sites Initiative? Did you know that you can save plants during construction? You don't have to do what they're doing. Did you know it actually is, you can save money and make more money by using low impact development, and et cetera, et cetera. So we want them to continue learning after that and incorporate their knowledge into their work. Hopefully some of them will take and run with some of these topics and provide perhaps a presentation to our chapter, or who knows what. We have a lot of enthusiastic, ambitious, and creative people in our society, so we know that they will come up with all kinds of wonderful things to do with it. And advocate for native plants, protect them, understand the codes and how the process happens, and so to understand and know all this stuff. What do we use? Handouts, the PowerPoint presentation. After the lecture portion of the course, we take them out into the countryside to look at the plants and to show them how to look at a plant, how to identify the plant. Different individuals will have different levels of ability. Some will actually have to be taught where to focus on the plant. Usually that's about 1 or 2 people in the group I've discovered who are just kind of walking along, and you can see their eyes kind of wander because they don't know exactly where to focus. And so that's kind of fun because you can see them learn so much so fast. And then there are others just need to solidify the identification of the plants that they've sort of vaguely knew it might be, stuff. So they take them out to the field trip. I actually at this point, and then right after there's a test that we give them, and I see that as a learning tool primarily. Although if you want to take level 2, you will need to pass level 1 test, but you don't have to do it right then. So if somebody doesn't pass, and we've had out of the 280 people, we've had about 8 people that haven't passed the test. So.
Did someone test out? Just without taking the course?
No.
I don't know if anybody's tried or not.
No, actually, we asked that. Oh, we were asking that too. When we were doing it, and then Lottie was in the group, in the original group, and when we were ready to offer the class, Lottie signed up, and so the rest of the committee looked at each other and said, well, I guess we better pay our $35 and pass the test. So we did. We didn't do that at level 2, but we did it at level 1. So that's probably something we can talk about once we start. I expect we're going to have a committee, a statewide committee, because this is going to be introduced toot sweet into other chapters. Actually, one of the third 3-ring binder that's I think is going around are plant scans, And in the pocket of the plant scan folder is the test. So you can see one of the tests. I think that's level 2 test. So it gives you an idea. So what did I want to say here? The planning process included creating an outline of our topics. So and this is going to be part of the legacy of the program. So as other people start adopting it, they'll understand where we're coming from, and if we want to improve it because for whatever reason, then we can play with this outline and shift it and move, reorganize it or add topics or take them out, and that could be an organizing tool for us, as it was for us when we developed the program. This is a slide. We use this slide for showing the ecological areas. I mean, this is an important thing for people to know, that there are 10 ecoregions. A neophyte is not going to know that. And even this little circle here, that's just a little extra thing. You can actually move that thing up to your region when you use that slide. This is another one of our slides. We show them what it is our problem are. What's our problem? This is a personal problem. This is not going to work for us as a people and as a planet. We talk about our ecoregions, show pictures. This is an example of, we have a picture for each slide of each of the ecoregions to give them a snapshot of what it looks like when they're in that ecoregion. To show that you drive around the loop, loop 1604, and you can find yourself in each one of these ecoregions, and you'll notice the change. We talk about soils and geology, but of course these are all quick snapshots. And then we also, one of the topics we have is a tree save area. And in level 1 we talk quickly about the code and issues and development issues, and one is, because we're also talking about how you can use native plants in a landscape. Well, you could save them, and this is what they did. And actually this is an apartment building just behind, on this side of it. They had the city showed up because they did something wrong, and as a punishment, they had to keep this area that they were going to clear. Punishment. And yeah, instead of a big fine, they agreed to keep this, and they were allowed to clear out almost all of the understory. And this is part of what Debbie Reed had to do. She had to compromise, for political and other reasons. And then they mulched it. So, and then what happened? About families landed up going in there, and all of a sudden it was this big asset, and the guy's, he's going to be able to raise his rents, probably. But so people who don't understand the benefit in our class, of course, they'll understand it right away. But if they are forced into it, they eventually like it. This is we use to show again about our, what our region looks like and what's happening with water issues. Point out that our native plants indigenous to our area, once established, can survive on that, and also native grasses provide a way for the water to be absorbed and held until they're slow released, or even trickling down into our aquifer and recharging. Anybody who watches the news to see who got stabbed tonight is gonna, just by mistake, learn that there's a water issue and it's related to our aquifer, and so they'll understand that. And we talk about wildlife species. We don't say snakes per se, but so again, we talk about how they benefit from the native plants. People may not understand that they co-evolved. We talk about that, sort of the idea of co-evolution, and how You know, they can't just eat anything. We can eat, you know, vegetables that originated in Africa, but they can't. So, or some of them, lots of them can't. And so keeping native plants has benefits. We talk about the soil and show them that, and talk about, you know, our 4 regions and what our 4 regions, you know, how much soil there is on the escarpment and how much is in you know, that kind of stuff. So they know, you know, if they buy in their lifetime 3 houses in Bexar County, they could possibly have, you know, have to deal with 3 different types of soils, you know, and so at least they'll have an idea. This is an example of a tree save area that has was built. This parking lot was built with a requirement that they leave, you know, this area, and this is what it looks like. Wow, how horrible! So, you know, again, this is like a picture of our region. So we try to get local photographs, and like if you adopted this and you have areas that look like this, you could use that slide, or you'd go out and find a picture of a parking lot that has. Okay, this is important. We talk about the best practices. Although we're discussing code and requirements and that kind of stuff, we're not teaching to the lowest common, you know, the lowest political denominator. We're talking about the best things you could possibly do and how that works so well. And somewhere in there, you can meet code easily. You don't even have to think about it. If you're thinking about doing it the best way, you're going to meet code. So, so this is, you know, a pretty cool way, other than getting rid of all the cars and making it right, and having a non-pervious, yeah. You know, there's more to it. There's, you know, maybe there's a catchment area that blah, whatever, but we can't cover everything. But we can say it works. It's lovely. It's, you know, we can still have Texas without, even though we have to live here. If that makes sense. So level 2, I mean, there's a part 2 of every level, and that's the plant identification. Our categories are, we put them into categories, large trees, which is pretty easy to figure out, but when we get into small trees and the shrubs, well, that's, you know, how that is amorphous. But so we throw those in together and let the trees, the shrubs fall where they may, and then wildflowers, vines, grasses, and then 10 non-native invasives at each level. Usually there's about 40 native plants and 10 invasive plants across those categories.
Would you mind discussing how you selected the plants that you put on that list?
Thank you. So level 1, as you can understand, is an introductory level course that many people are not going to graduate from and move on to others. So, and of course, because many people don't know much, we're going to pick the most common trees that you almost can't avoid seeing. You know, if you go for a walk in a park, you know. And many of them are in our yards. And we have, by the way, we've done better over the years with our tree ordinance. It's much, much better than it used to be, other than, of course, all the grandfathered acres. So maybe public opinion will slow some of that destruction down, maybe not. I guess I'm an incurable optimist. But so they created for the Unified Development Code a list of recommended trees and shrubs and stuff for the for putting back into the landscapes after development. About 98% are native. Ours does still have Nandina in it, and Vitex and Bermuda grass. So I see horror on people's faces, but and eventually that'll go away, I'm sure. But 98% is native. And so we took those trees and shrubs and vines, etc., chose the most common among those, and also the easiest to find in the nursery trade for our level 1 plants. And then level 2, we took some more from there. And 3 and 4 will get more we'll have more rare plants and fewer tall trees because we've run out of almost run out of tall trees. Yes.
Are you restricted to San Antonio specific natives then, or natives to?
That's right. Yes, thank you for asking, because that's another point. You can get lists of like TPWD when you have a special event and we all have our tables. They'll give you a list of plants to put in for butterflies, for hummingbirds, for this, and they'll include some non-natives and some natives, but they may be natives of Texas, right? So they may not be native to your area. And so, our niche really is natives to our local natives, locally native. And that's one of the signature elements of this program, is that the plants we feature are the plants that live where we live and co-evolved here. So if I have, as I do, I live on the end point of Blackland Prairie, and if I have no idea what grows in San Antonio blackland clay that doesn't grow in Oklahoma blackland prairie, but there's very likely trees, shrubs, vines, whatever that because of the temperature and whatever don't, even though we have the same clay or similar, they don't grow. So we're only working with those that have been generally accepted to be found traditionally in our areas. The format for the notes in the bottom of the let's see what this does, something. So, okay, so here's what I'm talking about. I hope I can get back. This is the notes area, right? And so we put notes, and let's see if I've got it in the next one. So see, we have all these notes that whoever gives the presentation can use as the talking points. And I'm pointing at that thing, and so this is we've established a format. So anybody who wants to create a slide of a plant that does, that they want to add to the program in their region, they can just use this standard format, and spit it out and put it in the notes section. And it includes landscape value. Is this a canopy tree, or is it an understory tree? Does it what's its shape? Does it have some special shape or color? Would this be a specimen plant tree? What's its soil preferences? What's its light preferences? Which you're going to put this on the northeast side of your two-story house, or what? And what kind of are there any non-natives that are commonly being used that this could be as a substitute for? And so we find pictures of our plants that show some landscape element. So for me, the elm tree, I'd like to show how it looks as a whole plant, because that's what you'll be seeing when you've planted it, and that's what quality. Then we also talk about how to identify, and somebody the other day yesterday I was out at Bear Dog Ranch, and somebody was saying, oh yeah, that's a such and such because it's opposite leaves. And I said, I'm sorry, I haven't gotten that far, opposite and alternate. And so in my opinion, that's not what you give at level 1. But you do give the leaves, because that's a little bit easier for people to remember, the leaf shape and the roughness and the size and that kind of stuff. So you don't get down into the nitty-gritty of identification that you would do if you were, if we were all in the field like that, and saying, yeah, it's alternate and blah, blah. So, and again, if we can find a good picture of it in a landscape area, and we'll do that. And this is our Nandina forest. Wait, what happened? And so we have pictures of our, of our non-native invasives. So at level 2, we get into more complex issues, and for that, Larry Hicks who's not here, right? of RVK architects, I'm sure you get bored as hell to come here, because Larry Hicks came into this. He's principal landscape architect with RVK Architects. He had his own landscape architect business that he sold or whatever to. RVK took him, bought him out or whatever, and so he became a partner in that. He's a great guy, and RVK gave us meeting room space and staff as well, and even print. They printed out, reams of paper for us every week as we did the planning, and and then Larry Hicks was provided us a lot of the information on protecting trees and shrubs and understory from construction. He provided us with a sample of contract specifications so that any homeowner could look at that and say, okay, what do I want to do with my I need a contract to protect this tree, how do I do that? And he provides paragraphs describing how to protect yourself from damage to your plants because I don't know whether any of you are unaware of this, but if you have a bulldozer and a tree in the same, within the half a mile of each other, the tree's in danger. And, the horror stories, somebody more than once I've heard, and I can't remember who it was, but said he told the driver, don't take down those trees. Those are not to be touched. And he goes, yes. And then they all went to lunch, and the driver came back from lunch earlier than my friend, and by the time he got back, all of that was destroyed. So, but I tell you what, if you have in your contract that they have to pay you $10,000 if they do that, guess what? Their attention, it changes the quality of their attention. And so you're more likely to save it. So Larry created, again, this series of a model contract. And he also created model specifications. And if you put them all together, it's an architect size sheet of specs on related to preservation of native plants. So he gave us, I actually started writing grants eventually because I realized that I could either take a job. I got laid off by the San Antonio River Authority in 2010, and I decided I could either take a job or I could do this program. And I have a problem. I've sort of been thinking of myself as Herman. Herman Hears the Who, and how he sits on the nest, and 6 years into this, and I can't, I just didn't want to not do it because I said I was going to do it, So I started to write grants and talk to the San Antonio chapter about getting a contract with them to proceed with this and to receive funding to do that. And so I asked to create a budget. I asked Larry if he would give me an idea of how much the value of his work was, so that when you're applying for a grant, you have to tell him what you're going to contribute, and that includes the value of the time that your volunteers give. If your volunteer is providing you with services that they normally provide in their work, then it's the value, it's based on how much they are paid for that. So based on that, he gave me a value of $20,000 worth of time and services to this program in 1 year. So I'm very grateful to RVK and our chapter has written them a letter of thank you, given them a plaque of thank you, and given him a plaque of thank you. And then our new city arborist, Mark Bird, who took Debbie Reed's place, came in and started providing some invaluable help. And then finally we got Michael to come in. These guys work really hard for the city, and it's really hard. But finally, in the last few months, Michael was able to help. He's a brilliant young man, is our city forester. And And then we also had the backing of these master naturalists who we keep on our committee to make sure we're not stepping on their toes. The topics that we've already talked about. Let's see if anything new. Installing new natives, maintaining and grooming native landscapes, and the identification, of course, and some trimming and pruning, some ideas about what to do for that. We talk in that section in part level 2 about ecosystem services and how native plants and provide these services, and here's an example of some of those. It provides water recharge, and it actually provides a cycle of cycling of the water in the atmosphere. It regulates a flood by holding water, and it supports wildlife, and there's a lot of other things that we point out in the thing. We talk about city codes, how it addresses the issues, the topics featured in the city codes, choosing elements required by code, what's not included, inspection process during the development that by the code, by the city arborist and his staff, and conflicts by individual homeowners with the weedy lot ordinance. And that's something we need to do, a statewide rebellion, don't we? But we talk about low impact development. This isn't in our area because the powers that be have been resisting LID, but except for the San Antonio River Authority, I have to congratulate them on their efforts to push the city and Bexar County into promoting LID. And this is another picture. I think this is in the Dallas area, actually, of LID, sustainable site. Here's the tree preservation plan. We tell them this is what developers have to submit. And this is what it looks like if you actually follow. So what's the problem with this? If you actually follow the best practices. This is an RVK development. And I like to point out this tree here. There's no way that if you had taken everything down and put this tree in here and waited for it to grow up to this height, that it would look this cool. This developed through hardship, living with other plants in a wildscape until, till its friends got killed and it was left. But it looks really interesting. And we talk about the native palette. This is a term that landscape architects use. Many landscape architects are during their training, or I guess traditionally, they were not really provided with a palette of plants that were native. So we introduce the native plants palette. And then we talk to them, okay, so what does it take to make up code? So if you think it needs to be more perfect, what do you need to do? What's it going to take? We give them examples of what a native scape looks like, and also we talk about these two issues. This is primarily not native. This is a xeriscape, and this is a xeriscape. This is native, and this is a wildscape as well as a xeriscape. So we talk about that. We tell them about irrigation, when to do it, and why, and how long, and harvesting water. And all along we give quotes and statistics as well. This is the landscape specifications thing that Larry, I told you about. We give them the basics on pruning because this is so common, it's just such a common problem of topping trees or cutting them wrong and having these poor beleaguered, ugly, wounds on trees. And we talk about maintaining after construction in the natural areas that they've had to preserve because of our new tree ordinance. And people feel like they're not supposed to do anything to that area. you know, so it gets all tangled and scary looking, and people think somebody's going to jump out of them. And even at the point where nobody even can get in there, including a deer, you know, they still think somebody's going to jump out at them. So we talk about how you can trim things up and, you know, make it, you know, whatever's required in that area. And if you need to have this kind of plant, hackberries will do it, you know, and there's a lot, you know, these are hackberry pom-poms, and this is a hackberry hedge, and so, the tree ordinance talks about sometimes you have to have a buffer, and so how do you manage that? Then what about managing natural areas for wildlife? You know, reduce the fuel, manage the invasives, encourage species diversity of age and species. Managing a newly planted natives. Make sure you get professionals to do this so that know what they're doing. We have a huge amount of people that come in, you know, what do they call them? Mowers and blowers, you know. That's really a dangerous presence on your property if you have native plants. I had somebody come in, a mower and blower next door, you know, and I had him come in and years ago, and I had a plant that I was growing that had finally, you know how slow native plants are about getting going, and this had finally gotten this big, and he had a young kid working with him. He went straight for it and pulled it out before I could. I mean, it's like I was going. It was too late. It was gone. So you want to have people who know something, and this is an area of potential for people who take our class as well. You know, if they want to be a gardener, and they have this training, then they may want to put their little email link on the website to say, I can garden in your garden, and I'm not going to hurt it. You know, and the more we spread the word, the more there will be people with that concern. And what do you do for hiring? This is another thing. You know, you have actually. When I was working at the River Authority, I had I decided to do a little demonstration garden on a place that wasn't in a little area that wasn't working, and they had a maintenance company that was coming in doing ridiculous things, coming in and mowing every week, you know, and stuff like that. And so I planted some plants. And by God, if they didn't come and just pull them right up, you know, the next week. And you know, and he had to have seen it was like this little 4-inch pot when he picked it up, you know, it was still like that. But he had no idea. There was no way for him knowing. And then I had somebody who was supposed to know about landscapes because he worked for a friend of mine, and he came and worked in my yard, and he took down my, he whacked my bamboo muley down to the ground, and I says, "Oh, you took my bamboo muley?" He says, "Yeah, it looked like that over there, where there was a tall drop seed." I said, "No, it did not look like that, and do not touch that one," because obviously he was heading toward that. It's grown back up, but you know, it just it showed me how what it means when I say that people don't know how to look at a plant. They really don't, and So we give them information on how to get a maintenance company that will help. Here's a picture of our class at the San Antonio River Authority's
Nice space.
at their boardroom, and these are the people: Larry Hicks, Mark Bird, Kathy Ward from Bernie chapter. Has been really helpful. She's the one that did all the plant scans. That was a gargantuan job. And Liz Robbins was the master naturalist, Judith Green. Thea Platts from the Northeast Independent School District also was involved, and she shows up at my level 1 classes and helps with the walks as well. And actually we're roping in her son, who's also a young professional in the field of actually restoration. Betty Dunn, who's a member of the Bernie chapter, and also has a very, very highly qualified, brilliant woman, has been helping. B. Carraway, who's been our president and in our chapter, and has been And then Lottie Millsaps, who's, if anybody knows her, everybody who knows her loves her. Here they are taking the test, and we laid out the scans and have numbers on the scans, as you could see, and so they could just like scatter and start with whatever number they came to. Warning, the last time at the boardroom, you know, these, I had all these blue shirt guys and the cowboys. They're all San Antonio River Authority employees. I've trained about 30 of them. And so we got back from our walk and we were going to take the test, and they are all sitting down. They says, "Oh, why don't you just kind of hand them out and we'll work on them?" You know, they didn't want to get up. So I landed up going back and forth for half an hour. I said, "We're not doing this again, guys." You know? So do not do that. Lay them down, no matter how lazy they're feeling, and let them walk around. It works a lot better. So, and then when they're finished, we give them this certificate. And we have copyrighted this. So we've applied the Creative Commons license, which is that, and I don't think I showed it, but the license we provide is that you can use this, but you have to give us attribution, and you can't use it to make any money off of it. So you can't, this isn't a for-profit thing. You can't lift this whole program or parts of it to put into your book that you're going to sell. But if you're an educational, so basically it's an educational institution, you know, blessing. And to let us know also.
Do you charge people to go through your program?
Yeah, the classes cost the level 1 costs $35, and level 2 and on will cost $50 per level. And level 1 is from 8 to 3, basically, 3. And level 2 is about 12 hours. It's all day on Saturday, and then Sunday morning we go out to a park, and we've made a map of where the plants are, that as many of the plants as we can find that we cover, and then we give them the test there. Yes?
How many people who take your level 1, and you have experience with this yet, actually join the chapter, get so interested that they want to join the chapter?
I'm not too sure about that. I've been looking, and I've only found a few, but I haven't. One of the issues is that I have a spreadsheet now. You know, every class, every season, we have a spreadsheet of students. I've blended 2 years worth, but at this point I'm going, hold on, we need a database for this. This is getting too complicated. And so, and to try to make the connection between the, and maybe we should ask them outright, you know, I'm not sure how we're going to record that. Yes, Bill?
So how many people have taken this altogether since you've been offered it?
About 280 people for over 3 years. The fewer people take level 2, and level 2 was only offered for the first time this spring. We had 48 people take, or 45, somewhere in that. So, and we're expecting that, a big drop in from 1 to 2. Yes?
If I don't live in San Antonio,
Right.
when I take level 1, I'm not interested in all that stuff about San Antonio. So can chapters take this
Right.
license, and then is it set up so we can change those?
Well, you know, we are all part of one organization. The Native Plant Society of Texas is one nonprofit. So no, you don't have to get permission through Creative Commons. That's for, you know, people outside of our organization. Yeah, that's not related to us. And the other part of the question is, oh yeah, it's set up, and that's how we've tried to organize the slides. You know, maybe we've done, maybe it's not, you know, it's always going to be room for improvement, but that's the idea, is to lift out the things that don't relate and put in the stuff in related category, you know. So,
3 more minutes.
okay, Kathy.
Have you ever considered teaching this in Spanish and something?
Yes, I'm hoping. I've actually tried to get it, the level 1 at least, put into Spanish already, but that didn't work out, and that's in the plans.
Because so many of our maintenance people
Right.
do not understand it.
Yes, right. Yes.
I was just curious about release dates for other chapters
There's going to be a class in November. See, the idea was to develop all 4 levels and then introduce it after we've proven it's working, you know. Well, 6 years later, but we have proven it's very popular, and even at level 1, 2, everybody, you know, I was a little bit worried about it because it's kind of technical, and the people who've taken it have enjoyed the information and stuff. So we're actually taking it to, and Carol Feldman is coordinating, and she has a flyer right here. We're going to have a Train the Trainer class in November. And this is a Train the Trainer class. We want people to come who are ready to introduce it to their chapters or their region if they want to work with other chapters. So if you want to come talk to your chapter leaders and get their go-ahead, or you know, figure out the way that you're going to organize this, and at least come to knowing that you're going to implement this. So Carol, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I have 2. One tells about the location and where, how to register and that kind of thing. And just remember that we want you to, if you take this class, we want you to take it back to your own district and teach the class.
But you don't have to have taken level 1 and 2 to take this class.
This class is level 1 and 2.
Level 1 and 2.
Okay.
Yes.
How about that? You're saying, okay, anybody that takes this class can go and then teach the class. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
You could go organize a class anywhere in the world, teach this class. After you've taken this course.
Well, we have it in Spanish, so you could go to Spain. It's true. Yes.
Yes, that's the theory. I mean, I don't know if I had enough handed out, but please don't take it unless you are really intended to come and help fill it out.
And so this, you know, this may take revisions. Who knows how much you'll have to look at the course and decide how much time it's going to take you to revise it to fit your region. And I'm open to doing a Train the Trainer in another part of Texas too. So if you want to organize something elsewhere, let me know.
Thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome. Thank you.